the Bakeneko GO. They should have called it that instead of the Bakeneko GO. They should have called it the Bakeneko GO. I think there's a lot to kind of unpack before we even unpack the keyboard. So the keyboard's gonna start at 80 bucks. I think the big selling point on this is not because it's only, $80 or starting at $80. This is gonna be a wireless version of the board, which seems to be one of its key selling points. But I think more people, like I mentioned just before, more people might actually enjoy just the keyboard itself for what it is, outside of the whole wireless sphere, It's not gonna have things like aluminum plates. You can use aluminum plates, it won't be sold with a kit, but they don't recommend it just for the wireless connectivity of it. So that's gonna be kind of what they're kind of gearing up towards here. The Bakeneko GO is also injection molded, so this is gonna differ very much from the aluminum versions, which are interesting, right? Because I don't know how this is gonna end up sounding. I have not watched anyone else's content. I read all the build notes and all the other little things that they gave us. So we're gonna see how this sounds. I don't even actually know which one they gave us today because there's two colors, a soft touch black or a polycarb. I have not opened this yet and we'll see what we get here. I decided we're gonna use some long pull switches, specifically Obscuras, because I've used those Obscuras in other injection molded keyboards and they sounded great. So I thought that could be a great little comparison for us today too, versus some of maybe the other streams that we've had. There is not going to be ISO support for this guy here, but there is going to be RGB. There's going to be a decently sized battery. It says 200 milliamp on the website, but I'm assuming that's wrong, and I'm pretty positive they meant to put 2000 milliamp. So the only thing on this spec sheet that I'm not really loving, so let's read this and I'll tell you which one it is. I'll let you guys guess, actually. We have the Bakeneko GO, we have the hot swap wireless PCB, we have an FR4 plate, we have a 2000 or 200. They said it was 200. It's only 200? Oh! Isn't that... Damn, that's relatively small, I'd say, for a 200 milliamp battery. It lasts over a month? Oh, okay. Maybe that's how efficient ZMK is. I honestly thought that was going to be like a little spelling error. If so, that's super impressive. But let's keep going. We have a 200 milliamp battery, a C4 daughter board, a Molex cable, 50A O-ring gasket, a custom silicone feet, cherry Clipins stabs in the box, which is awesome. And then we have a USB cable. If you go down a little bit, extended battery life. ZMK is an open source firmware built specifically for custom wireless keyboards. They're gonna release, by the way, so before we get into why is this ZMK versus QMK, they're gonna release at Canon Keys a whole spiel about why they're choosing ZMK over going with VIA, or QMK rather. There's some good points in it. Personally, I'm not too hurt by the whole ZMK move here. They're going to be working on some other on-the-fly key map changes too, they mentioned. They're saying 800 plus hour battery life with the RGB turned off. I wonder how much it would be with the RGB turned on. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about how much with the battery, I guess with the RGB on for the battery. And then there's gonna be no ISO support, which is sucky. Also, like I mentioned before, just having a Molex connector is not my absolute favorite thing in the world, but I don't know why we're all persistent on still using that in the keyboard world. I think Molex connectors are kind of counterintuitive for customizing your keyboard, considering it has a very small kind of window of how much you can actually use it for how much it's rated. All right, let's take a look at the board. So this is the plate. I actually like that they packaged it in this little sleeve, this cardboard sleeve. We have the PCB. So for LEDs in the PCB, it looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We have 12 LEDs on this. 1.6 mil thickness on this PCB. So pretty awesome. And then we have, it looks like the battery should go in there, and then there's the little Molex connector. We have the soft touch. Ooh, this does feel nice. All right, this has also been opened and used before, by the way, so if there's gonna be some fingerprints on this that are not mine, just a heads up. Oh, dude. Okay, I can't explain this well on just showing this to you guys, but this is a soft touch material. I have been wanting something like this. So they did this a long time ago with the Think 65 series. They had this like soft touch kind of plastic. It felt amazing, but I was told that it was really kind of just like not cost effective to get done, and they've never done anything like that again. This feels really good. Now there is, obviously this is still injection molded plastic and whatnot, so there's gonna be imperfections. They're gonna have like a little list on the website about what gets covered in this. Internals, I'm not too burned about there. The externals, again, I know this has been used, so it's going to have some wear to it, but it seems like it's pretty good everywhere else, albeit some dust and some fingerprints in places. Really loving this soft touch material, though. It feels soft, which is fantastic. I love that, actually. This feels so good. And then I think this is our little accessory box here. I'm actually really happy about that soft touch. USB cable, which I'm not going to use today, but it's in the box. Not bad value for $80. I think we need to put feet on. Oh, this is how small the battery is. The red LED on your battery must connect to the plus terminal. Oh, wow. They weren't joking around being 200 milliamp. I thought that was a typo on the website. This is like a stick of gum. Wow, that is a very small battery. Holy. Okay, I mean, that's pretty cool. Okay. On the go board with no battery life, great. I mean, they're claiming this can last about a month with the ZMK software. So I don't wanna jump the gun. I don't know if they're gonna allow me to keep this for about a month to, actually use every day and test. But they're saying it gets 800 plus hours. I'm impressed by the efficiency of this board. If this is the small little battery, you can get this much battery life out of it. I'm curious if you could potentially upgrade this size in the future. This would be interesting to see if you could potentially expand this in the future. And we have some clip-ins. So this is nothing you guys have not seen before. It is your standard box on wedge. There's nothing too crazy about this particular design. I don't see any bowing at all with the plastic. So pretty nice. 80 bucks for this guy. It's a one piece kind of thing over here. I love this soft touch finish. I think this is probably the most attractive thing about this board is this soft touch. I know the polycarbonate will probably, catch some eyes and people be like, oh yeah, that's amazing. So, all right, let's do some stabilizers. And if you guys were curious, before we actually get into the stabs, let's do one last thing. Here is all the compatibility you can get with the PCB. So you can do split backspace, split right. The only thing you really can't do is ISO. And then you can't do a different bottom row, which is a bit sad about the bottom row here. I would have loved to see the bottom row be either a 7 or a 6.25. You can't do steps because they have the battery on and off right next to the step. What are those O-rings? Well, this is O-ring mounted board, so we have an FR4 plate. All right, we're gonna be using some obscure switches only because I have a lot of experience with these when it comes to the plastic boards, and I think they sound wonderful. All right. I like the little Canon Keys logo on the plate. I think that's a cute little touch. And they said make sure the right lead on our battery must connect it to the plus in the terminal. Oh, I see. So the right lead has to be in the middle. All right, battery is in. Oh, it's off. Here, we're gonna turn on the battery and we'll see if we did it right. Aha, RGB. And then we have a little daughter board that's gonna screw in right now, which we're gonna get our screwdriver kit. So the battery just kind of floats around, which is something I was gonna bring up when we got there. It doesn't really matter, I guess. However, would have been nice to have some sort of way to better secure the battery so it's not just like banging around in the bottom of the case. That would have been nice. Maybe some sort of like incorporated strap where it can kind of strap onto the back of the PCB would have been cool, but it doesn't seem like we have a slot for this to go into. Again, I don't know if it's end of world here, but interesting nonetheless. I think the only truly negative thing I can say about this board right now is the fact that it's using a Molex connector. If it want to fit in the channel, you're going to have to really twist that wire around, which is going to kind of put a lot of pressure onto the... I mean, you could, I guess. I just don't want to twist the wire around. It doesn't feel like nice. I think for me, I would want it to be something like this way here, you know? The main draws of the board seem to be the... hence the Go name, the wireless nature of the board. I don't still love these Molex connectors, but yeah, maybe the intention is to kind of slot this battery into here, but now there's no room for this wire. And if you put it on the wire, it just ends up popping up anyways. Seems like a bit of a mess kind of aligning the battery into this. The Bakeneko 60 just used a regular schmegular connector as far as I remember. Yeah, This is my, okay, soft touch is really nice, guys, but soft touch also picks up a lot of like oils and stuff from the fingers and just like anything like that. So you do have to be a bit more careful with soft touch. It is a super unique kind of finish on a keyboard though, which I absolutely love, which I'm still very pumped up about this particular finish, but it does have some drawbacks. So the only thing truly that I think could be changed for the lifespan of the board is just getting rid of the Molex connector. That is really it. No 7, yeah, actually, that's one of the other drawbacks. No ISO support, no 7U support. Maybe that is one of the bigger drawbacks. I feel like a lot of people would probably get the PC ones. No step caps, but you can't really because they have the battery on and off button over there. I would love to see them experiment with some physical button on the back. That'd be really nice for this. So assembly wise, this is a pretty standard install, guys. It's a O-ring board. So you're gonna obviously need to use clip-ins for this. This is a pretty overall standard, easy build to do. I think the wireless aspect of this board is actually interesting. Such a small battery giving you that much battery life is pretty wild. It's like a little Galaxy Artisan. It's an older one from Prime Caps. I've always really liked this. I feel like this will work really well for the set today. All right, so about 80 bucks for this. Bluetooth, ZMK compatible, which they're saying is going to be at a 200 milliamp battery, is about a whole month worth of battery, so 800 hours with no RGB on. Interesting. You get an FR4 plate. There's some drawbacks here, like the Molex connector. I think that's a drawback personally. And then I also think the layout compatibility is not 100% on this. I'm not going to completely hate on it for that. Do they offer a solderable version though? They might offer some sort of solderable version, but I'm not too positive though, guys. Yes, you can put your old wired stuff or whatever Bakeneko stuff you want inside these new cases. They did say that everything's cross-compatible in that sense, which is awesome. Where's this? I'm more shocked that this sounds like this. Okay, this sounds really good. Ooh, that's nice. Honestly though, this punches pretty high in terms of sound. I think this sounds pretty damn good. The alphas hit really hard, by the way. These sound great. The board feels pretty nice too. It's an O-ring board, so it's kind of that like little bit of firmness, but also a little bit of softness. It's kind of that in-between feel, you know? I wouldn't say there's much flex on this at all. This is probably just the board compressing into the cork mat a little bit when I press on it. Maybe a smidge of bounce from the O-ring. This is impressive. This is very impressive. I think there's a lot of impressive stuff that's gone into this. Utilizing ZMK to give us a very efficient wireless keyboard as well. You know, that very small 200 milliamp battery, going 800 plus hours they're claiming. Again, I just built the board. I have no real world proof of that. I can only take them at their word. The board has your classic Bakeneko shape. I told you guys this keycap was loose. I had a feeling. No frills other than that. I think the only thing I would probably ask them to maybe switch in the future is, I don't quite understand the purpose of going Molex. I think just going with the regular JST might be just the better choice in the long run. I would even say the battery's fine to sit in the bottom of the case like that. Not the most like elegant thing in the world, but totally fine too. Yeah, I think this is a pretty nice little pickup if you guys wanted something. I think this is definitely targeted to someone who maybe wants to toss this in a backpack or something, because you got that wireless connectivity. It's not going anywhere in the case, which is great. You're not going to hear that rattling around at all, which is fine. I think this kind of stands out from the competition in a lot of ways just because how thick this plastic is on the injection molding. I showed you guys how even just how rigid this was by kind of, you know, trying to bend this a little bit. It's a pretty rigid plastic case. I definitely now put the keycaps on. I can see it's kind of flared up on the left side a little bit. I don't know if that's something that, I mean, again, I don't think this is affecting the keyboard at all, but if you guys are completely anal about these things, you know, as much as it hurts me to say, maybe this is just not something you should pick up if that's going to completely bother you. So it does kind of flare up on the, what is this considered? The left side of the, or right side, I guess, however you orient yourself here. Not really flaring up too much on this side, just seems more on this side. It's not, it's very slight, by the way. It's not teetering the keyboard at all. You know, it's not going anywhere, but it is there. So something to keep in mind. There is actually there's something else I'm noticing too now. There's a smidge of a dip in the center as well. Again, not enough to completely ruin my experience with this keyboard at all, but there's a smidge of a dip here in the center. I mean, I couldn't see it without the keycaps before. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. The back is perfectly aligned. The front has a smidge of a dip. I can see that here, not so much on this side though. Maybe it's just me. Again, not enough to throw off my experience with this keyboard. But it is there, so it's important that we mention it. Very cool, Canon keys. Very, very, very cool. Soft touch is a win. I love this material personally. I love this finish. It's just such a nice premium feeling finish on this. Impressive. Very impressive though. Very much a win in my books. You guys have a good night. Thanks for being here, guys. Really appreciate it. Bye, everyone, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out, everyone. Love ya.